you've had a tremendous amount of success. It doesn't really seem like you've had a lot of failure. Like, do you feel like you've had a lot of failure?
Yeah, I think plenty. I mean, like along the way, there's been times where I've come home and I've stared at the ceiling and been like, what the fuck am I going to do? Laying on the floor, dog comes over, licks your face, and then you realize, you're not a heart surgeon. You will survive. But there's been plenty of times. I mean, that Salesforce event for me was, in a lot of ways, what felt like a failure. It was like, it didn't bomb our company, but like, we're bootstrapped. I don't have a fucking...
you don't have VCs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have VC money being pumped in this thing. Like, we can't afford to like not make money on these conferences, right? So we had to figure something out. And what happens when you fail like that is you do figure things out. Like I had to like push off payments till later in the year, or like, basically put me on a payment plan, or come up with like different things I could sell to sponsors immediately, so that I can, start getting pay the bills, some new money in. Yeah, so like that was a bad one. There have been plenty of conferences.
How do you stay so motivated, do you think? Like, where does this motivation come from, right? Like, because like to do the events, you got to be highly motivated to just like go through some of the learning experiences. Like,
be an entrepreneur. Yeah, you want to build something, man. Like, nobody wants to fail, and the only way to really fail is to quit, right? Like, there are plenty of times where I've failed, but like pushed through and turned it into something. Failed, pushed through, turned it into. Like, I can't think of a lot of failures where like I failed and it just stopped. Like my bike share program failed, and we couldn't raise the money, but that like turned into another business. When the social media business, we stopped that. Like, that's a failure. That didn't exit or anything like that, but that turned into, Udemy. I eventually left Udemy. Like, I don't consider that a failure. But like I didn't have some kind of like outcome or something like that. So like then you go and you just like continue parlaying these things into the next opportunity. It's a career. It's it's
you just get used to it, almost conditioned. It sounds like
the three questions that I've learned to ask when you take over an account or a territory.
That's going to be my next question.
So here are the three questions. So when you take over an account, you go as far up the organization as you possibly can, and you want to ask three questions. So I'm going to pretend I replaced you, okay? So I'm going to go see somebody. I'm going to say, my name's Craig. I've taken over your account. I want to ask three questions. The first question I want to ask is, what did Brandon do really well that I need to keep doing? Second question is, what does my competition do really well that I should start doing?
Ooh, I like that one.
Wait for this one. The last question is, what does nobody do that you wish everybody did?
Damn. I mean, this could be applied to taking over an account. This could be applied to current customers too.
Totally, right? But here's what's interesting. So the first time I did this was in the late 90s.
What made you come up with these questions? Like, how did you come up with that?
Well, so I'm a guy who just says, try something, see what happens. So I had one question, and that sort of, on one of these conversations, that question just came out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, let's write that one down. That's a good question. And then as I did more, that third question came out. Oh, that's a good question. Let's write that down. So then I just repeat. But I think that the best thing to do is don't spend all the time trying to come up with stuff. Just start something, do something, learn something.
I love that. And those three questions again: what did Brandon do well that I need to keep doing? What does my competition do well that I should be doing? And then what does nobody do that you wish they did?
Yeah, that everybody did. And what for me happened is this is the sort of latter part of the 90s. Email is making its way into corporate communications.
Yeah.
And the one response I got from almost everybody was, if I send you an email, just let me know you got it and when to expect a response.
Okay, so like timely communication.
Just say, okay, Brandon, I got this email. I'm hunkered down. I have no time till Monday. Can you wait until Monday? Yes, I can wait until Monday. Otherwise, what happens is they don't know when you're going to respond. And the next salesperson walks in and asks if they have any problems, and they share the problem with that other salesperson they just shared with you. Where if I tell them when to expect an answer, someone shows up and say, can I help you with everything? They go, no, because they know they're going to get an answer on Monday.
So I think the vast majority of people skim the surface on 100 things, and so they get results for virtually none of them, right? So you don't want to go so hyper focused that you're at risk, right? You have to have lots of lines in the water in any type of business in order to grow, and especially to protect yourself from a sustainability standpoint. But it's like whatever you're going to commit to, you have to go deep enough, hard enough, long enough, and be committed enough to it that you're actually bringing it full circle for sustainable results. And most people aren't. They dabble in dozens of different things, and then they're looking around and they're saying, well, I'm working so hard, why am I not getting any results? And it's like, you're not getting any results because you're not doing enough of anything to get real results, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like working out and dieting. Like if you work out every other day and you eat like shit, you're
neutralizing. You're like, you didn't work out.
Dieted like perfectly, that would get you 90 to 95% of the way there, probably.
Yes, exactly.
So figuring out that 80-20 rule. Now, what if you don't know where to start though? Like, let's just say another branch manager, or like you're telling them, hey, just figure out the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of the efforts and activity. And they're like, okay, thanks, Kelly. Like, they
don't know how to figure that out. They don't.
Like
you got to down and dirty. Like, you got to get. No, you don't need to hire anybody. No, you don't need to hire anybody. Like, you sit down. Listen, this is the thing. When you, the leader, are outside of it, you can see it in 10 seconds. They just can't see it because they're in it, right? So you can sit down with them and so quickly help them identify, right? And also success leaves clues, right? So you can look at your best performers and say, these are the things that they're doing. This is what they're doing really well. This is where they're spending time. This is what they're doing. And then you can basically take that and create like time blocking, right? Time blocking, set activity metrics, like really strong KPIs, follow up and follow through on them, and analyzing the results that they're getting, and then guiding them and coaching them. And I think the coaching piece is what is so severely lacking in the entrepreneurial space. I see that entrepreneurs hire people so that they can delegate, which is really just them like throwing things at people, but not actually creating like an onboarding plan, management metrics, doing weekly one-on-ones, actually investing in the people to help them reach their potential. And then
so hard to do. It takes a lot of energy and time. Like,
it does.
Figure it out. It's hard. I have a fear of death, like which pushes me, because I'm afraid I'm going to die knowing all of these things that I don't share with people that could help them. I don't know why that's my thing. My mom died when I was like 22, and my fiance's mom died when she was 18. And then I just had to go to a funeral yesterday for a best friend. And like that continuously pushes me. Mm-hmm. I basically always think like the party's going to be over tomorrow. Maybe party may be over tomorrow. So I have to go all out as hard as possible. Like why do you, it sounds like you feel like you've got all this knowledge and longevity. What motivates you to share that with people?
I see people struggling. I read the boards. I get lots of emails from people, and I've always been focused up market. So I've always had pretty large accounts. I mean, even now with the book Predictable Revenue, that was a Silicon Valley startup-y kind of book. And I'm working like MasterCard and Gartner, bigger groups. So I have bigger long-term clients that are larger. What about the folks that are just starting out? What about the women who are coming up into sales who feel like they can't break through? Those are the people that I really feel that obligation, a very strong sense of obligation to be able to help.
What was the biggest thing that you learned, from your sales career, building the Bridge Group? And then what was your biggest failure / learning experience, that fail forward experience?
The biggest thing I learned for sure was that you can't just say you're going to do something. You have to dedicate yourself to doing it. So like those 2 hours of selling time a day, that was something I had to learn to do. Because you know what it's like. You could fill your day with just crazy stuff. Your day can grab you and shake you around and throw you against the wall. And at the end of it, you're like, what happened? What did I accomplish? So I think when people say, I'm going to do this, you have to commit to doing it. And commitment is not easy. Those 2 hours a day I could spend doing a million other things, but those are very important to me. It's 10 hours a week. It's like practically a whole day a week that I take off the table just to commit to something that I firmly believe in, that grows my business and that I learned from. So
yeah, I'm going to do the same. After this call, after this interview, the chapter of the book and this podcast show, I'm going on the calendar and I'm locking it back in. I used to have blocked off time and then my stuff just got crazy. I'm doing it again. You inspired me to do that.
Yeah, you just
hopefully the audience listening does the same.
Yeah.
Who cares if you're CEO, founder, sales development rep, AE, sales director, VP of sales? Like, dude, the people higher up have the most, the easiest, penetration into an account because they're the most well-known or the most knowledgeable.
I'm telling you. I mean, sometimes if I know someone's read a lot of our content and I can see their activity, sometimes I call people up and go, is my name familiar to you? Like, my SDR can't do that, right? So...
Hey, right. You're the celeb. You're the expert.
Yep.
You could probably make the deal go the fastest. You get in the account the fastest. So you got to put in the effort.
Yeah, and it's my favorite thing to do. So it's a win-win all around.